Oh, hello, everyone. Sorry, I was really confused why I couldn't come up on stage and remove that video. But anyways, we're here. Welcome to this week's live stream AMA. Obviously, we have lots to talk about because we had a massive, massive update last week, 2.5. And yesterday was the last day of the grace period for industry limits. And I think that was the first time people realized there was a massive update that had taken place. So we're going to go through all of your comments, questions, everything. So throw them all in the YouTube live chat and the Twitter live chat, and keep it farmer friendly. I know this update has been kind of polarizing. There's some people that they just get it and they're so on board. They love it. And then there's some other people that have a lot of criticisms. So please keep it farmer friendly, which means respectful and kind. There is a way to give feedback to each other in the chat too. I'm not just saying to Luke and I, okay, we've got hard skin in the chat too. And we'll go through everything and we'll really talk about the goals with this update and some more updates that will be coming, all of the things. All right, so let's bring up Luke.
Hey everybody. Yeah, that's been a busy week. So last week we got out the original chapter 2.5 updates, and yesterday some of the industry limits went into effect. And you guys are finally starting to feel what new game economy looks like, right? Obviously it's been a little polarizing. Some people are very pro this update, some people don't like it. We were warning you for a long time. It was going to change the way that you guys play the game, and I think you guys see it definitely has, right? Rather than going through the same routine that you might every single day, there's another element of basically having to find open industries. So I kind of want to go over the high level of the intention behind this update, why we did it, and what you can maybe expect moving forward. And then we'll start to dive into some other questions as well too. So again, the key issue with chapter 2 when we released it was there was a lack of scarcity amongst items, right? Especially in the tier 3 and the tier 4. It actually made no sense to go on to in NFT land, or to look for harder to find resources inside of the game, right? And there was very routine playing due to that as well. You basically could just go onto your spec all day. You just clicked. And yeah, we didn't really like the direction that gameplay was headed. It wasn't super sustainable either, to be completely honest, because resource inflation was very, very bad, right? Without a healthy game economy, you can't really build the other building blocks that you need to go out and like actually have a successful game. So there had to be something that we had to change, regardless of how you felt. Same thing with chapter one. There was a very similar problem in chapter one. A lot of you guys don't remember because there's a lot of nostalgic views on chapter one, but resource inflation was even worse inside of chapter one. You guys might not have felt some of the end effects in chapter one with resource inflation because there were like new players coming in. But it's funny, when the multi-use industries come into play, I don't like the word Ponzi-nomics, but like there is like a Ponzi element sometimes where new players can substitute actual real demand for the resources. And yeah, you got to fix that core issue, right? So it was a pretty similar problem that we were seeing with Barry, right? When we were building with Barry inside of the game, Barry was inflating like 2 to 3% a day. Actually nuts. That's like 90, 120% a month. And it had potential to do some bad things. But Pixels was really, really popular and then growing pretty crazy. So a lot of people didn't see the full effect of it. I still stand by sunsetting Barry as the best thing that Pixels did, because it could have been a bad situation for some other people. But yeah, obviously it changed some of the gameplay and removed some of the charm of like pre chapter one even, or like pre pixel token. But yeah, basically this update was all centered around making sure that game economy was a bit stronger. And now we're in a good place. So here's where we're at. The team had a couple of choices, right? Like we basically had to like make some cuts. This is almost like, it's almost like economics or government in a weird way sometimes, right? Where we had to basically decide like how deep do we want to do the cuts with game economy, and we chose to be very aggressive at the beginning stages. So we went hard on industry limits, we went hard on cooldowns, and now that we have like a better base economy, we can start to think about increasing certain areas through different game mechanics. So one new game feature that we're coming up with and is going to come out relatively soon is something like a speed up currency. So right now the cooldowns are really long. We have a feature coming out called merchant ships. This is probably going to be the way that we distribute the speed up currency, where you'll be able to do merchant ship tasks and maybe get something that decreases your cooldowns when you go to farm. There's also a lot of potential for things like new sculptures that increase limits on top of land, maybe even tools that decrease your cooldowns if you get like the right tools and like a rare tool, right? There's a ton of potential here. But right now we want to go hard with the limits, and we can ease them in different game mechanics that way. And this unlocks a few different things. One, this unlocks like more interesting content you guys can go and earn. We always talk about this concept called chase content when we talk about game development and building the game. And chase content is basically content inside of the game that you would want to earn besides the pixel token. And right now, a good example of that is pets, or it's like sculptures, costumes, NFTs, things like this. But there's also a lot of like deeper integrated gameplay things that we can start to introduce, like a pickaxe that lets you mine 50% faster is a really big deal right now. If you were to earn that in a feature like merchant ships or through a holiday event or anything like that, it would feel pretty good, right? And there would probably be a lot of people that want that item. So yeah, that's the way that we're thinking about it. Now, a couple of things you need to remember too is total pixel earnings going out didn't change with this update at all. So the way that you interact with Taskboard, and maybe Taskboard is something that we'll dive into. I think the team is kind of feeling like we want to change some of that system pretty soon. But the pixel going out in the Taskboard has not changed. So you'll still be able to earn the same amount of pixel as you did before, but you're probably going to be earning it in a different way now, right? So I see a lot of high level feedback that you can't spend all of your energy. And that's actually maybe not the worst thing. Right now, there's different constraints inside of the game, right? Like we talk about this concept of constraints a lot. Like how much of one thing can you do per day? And now the constraint is not so much energy as it was before. Energy is a very bottable, attackable system. And now it's more space and finding the right industry, right? So pros and cons to that. The game becomes semi more social, and the game becomes a little bit more about like finding the right places to go moving forward. And there's ways that we can kind of address this and like tweak around this a little bit. But yeah, that's the core idea. We basically wanted to introduce scarcity through something that's not just energy. So the way that you're playing the game is a little bit different, right? But do note that this probably means that everybody inside of the game is going to be doing less tasks per day. So the way that you guys were used to playing before, where you just sit and click, 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 click all these industries, that probably is not a meta that's going to work as effectively as before. So your gameplay is going to change a lot. But that doesn't mean that the earnings out there are any different. You actually saw, if you were following some people, like there were a lot of people who made their all-time high pixel yesterday, right? Because they had a different strategy than what they were doing before. So always keep that in mind. And yeah, maybe we can pick up some questions on this update and we can kind of talk to you guys about like our thoughts on this kind of stuff. Because I like the questions. They normally lead into rabbit holes. And then what I also want to go over today too is I want to kind of like let you guys in on future roadmap and how we're thinking about things also.
Okay, I would say there's more statements than questions at this time. But please put some like really good questions you have about, and if you're someone that is curious about like our design choices, like ask about those specific choices, pardon me. But yeah, there's a lot of good comments in here still that we can bring some up. I just saw one and then like refresh. Oh yeah, okay, you were just talking about taskboards. Taskboard is broken, it isn't working, it should be smart, right? Do you want to maybe talk about how the taskboard is? Well, first of all, I will say, I'm going to just reiterate what Luke said. We're still giving out the same amount of pixel every day. So earnings haven't changed, just the way that you interact with the game is a little bit different now. So people have earned a lot of pixel in the last day, some all-time highs like Luke was suggesting, just because they like caught on really quickly to like new game meta and whatnot. But the taskboard has been updated to reflect the balance changes. The only thing that hasn't been updated to reflect the balance changes is the amount of free energy that has been given out. So that's, I think, what makes this feel maybe a little icky in a way, is that you have too much energy to use. So do you have anything more to add to taskboard is broken?
Yeah. So I mean, taskboard, again, the way that you guys play the game is going to be different. You're not going to be able to get through hours and hours of tasks maybe the same way that you did before. That doesn't mean that your earnings are going to change. So the way that you're playing the game is different, right? Like that's the one thing I need to like emphasize. Everybody is probably going to end up doing less tasks total now. Like it should be less grindy in that circumstance now, right? In order to actually earn on the high level of chapter 2, like the people that were really earning a lot were playing like hours and hours and hours a day. And they probably can't grind the same way that they did before. They're probably going to find a different strategy moving forward. And that always happens when we do a big balance change like this, right? Like somebody finds a new meta and then, they do pretty well when they find a new meta. So also like, I would encourage you guys to take this as an opportunity to like go out and figure out what the new meta is, because the people that do normally do pretty well. But yeah, Taskboard's not broken. It's still outputting the same amount of pixel every single day. It's all up for grabs, and you got to figure out the best way to do it now. It's a game. You got to figure some things out.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot. I see a lot of requests for Adamantium or Herd is what I'll say.
Yeah,
that was
team. I'll just go reiterate.
Oh yeah, and then somebody made another comment about the planting cooldown. I think we should probably change the crop mechanic a little bit. It is a little bit weird that somebody can just leave a crop and forget about it and then block everybody else from planting. The team's been talking about that.
Yeah, it made sense before when there were unlimited soils, but now that they're limited, like I just had to hop on my land and remove some so other people can can use. We totally get it.
So hard to find tier 3 and 4. Is it possible to make crafting an industry and making tier 4 to help new and old players? So there's a couple things here. This is a good point. This was part of the intention behind the update, and this is always actually how chapter 2 is supposed to work. It was supposed to be hard to get tier 3 and tier 4 resources. That was kind of the point of it. Now, people used to complain that tier 3 and tier 4 resources were not worth very much. Go look at pixel tips. They're worth a lot more now. So there's a couple things here, right? If you are a player that is just buying items from the marketplace and you never want to get the items yourself, your gameplay has changed a lot. And yeah, this game is probably a lot harder for you if you never want to go and farm your own resources. You're just buying from the Taskboard, or buying from the marketplace to go put into the Taskboard. That truthfully is kind of intended behavior. We want more active participants in the game, but also what that means is that if you're going and farming some of these tier 4 and tier 3 and tier 4 resources, if you get them, you are going to be a lot more rewarded from getting that resource, right? Like it's a resource that a lot more people want and need now. And that's kind of the idea. Like most MMOs have this mechanic where there's rare resources or like rare mobs that spawn globally and they're limited. You might have to wait. Like I remember I used to farm King Black Dragons in RuneScape and you had to wait for a bit or like world hop a ton to find the right one. Very similar mechanic here, right? The tier 3 and the tier 4 resources are supposed to be hard to get. But yeah, the other side of this too is we are thinking a lot about the new player experience, and like that's kind of the next set of updates that Pixels is focused on, right? So we focused on making sure the game economy was fixed. Now we're focused on new user updates to make sure that like we can start to grow the game as well too. So it's always a back and forth between like making sure that current players are in a good spot, that game economy is healthy, that's growing in the right way with like old cohorts, and also making sure that new players understand what's going on. So there's a couple of initiatives there. One, like smart Taskboard is coming. So we're actually, like it should be coming this week, ideally. We're going to be able to target earnings a little bit better. So one thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to like spread out the earnings a little bit more evenly to other players also, not just giving it to like the top 0.01% of users who are grinding inside of the game, but also the users who are like a bit more mid in the journey, right? We have a lot better data science now where we can, we've gotten way better on the bot detection prevention. I know that some people still see some bots on certain lands like apiaries that have apiaries and all of that, but I can tell you like globally, the bot percentage is very, very down compared to what it was at peak. The other thing that we've been doing better at is figuring out what users are like better quality users and what users aren't. So we can actually start to give users rewards much earlier in the user journey than before. And that's like the other part of that too. And then, yeah, we're redoing all of our tutorials. We're figuring out like all this stuff there. Like we're going to kind of do like a more mobile optimized first time user experience. But yeah.
Okay. I've seen a couple people say when bulk crafting. So there are a bunch of bulk craftings available only to VIP. But anyways, I've pinged the team about this.
When 85% of players are complaining, you feel good about the game. That means you're delusional.
85 feels really specific, first of all.
There's a couple of things here, right? One, like we have no interest in building something that we don't think is going to work in the long run. So this is actually like a bigger conversation that we should have because this is really important. Yeah, Pixels is one of the only Web3 games actually in the arena and like that actually has a game that's out doing live ops with the token. There's so few that are actually doing what we're doing right now. And yeah, because of that, we're going to be getting most of the criticism in the space, which I'm totally fine with. I have no problem taking that. But like, let's also maybe switch a little bit to some positivity, guys, because these problems are not unique to us. It's really easy, especially like other founders, to go and criticize us when they don't even have their game out yet. Pixels has released more content updates, like game economy iterations, done more data science than like all these other games that don't even have their game out, let alone token and all of this, right? So grass is always going to be a little greener on that end, right? Before these people actually are out in the arena. But then the other thing is too, like we are really trying to make something work here. So play to earn, it's still very experimental, right? And that's the promise that we're making with you guys. Like we're really committed to trying to figure out how to make play to earn work in the long run. We don't want to make something that we think is going to die and not be around. So we have to take some risk when it comes to changing things with game economy, game balance, all of this kind of stuff, right? So remember, Pixels is one giant experiment. We're all doing this together, and the goal is to solve play to earn. And what's cool is we've been making month-on-month progress towards that goal. It's not getting appreciated in the way that I think it should at all times. And again, this is a thankless job, so we don't always expect like total praise. But yeah, I wish more people would have that positive mindset of like, what if we did figure out play to earn, and like think about kind of doing this all together too. That's maybe wishful thinking. But this is a shared goal. We are doing this with like all of you guys in mind, right? Pixels has distributed a ton of tokens to the community, right? We do this every single month, and you're free to do whatever you want with these tokens, right? But we're also really working on some big problems inside of Web3 gaming that are bigger than just a game. Like what we're doing here is we're really building like a whole new way to build and grow games with play to earn. And what's cool is you get to participate in the network as you're like playing this game and giving us feedback and helping us fix some stuff, right? This game is nowhere close to dead. I see a lot of people saying that dead game, dead game, dead game. What I'll say is like Pixels is sufficiently funded where whether you like it or not, we're going to be around for a long time. And we have enough runway. We have like, we don't, if we raised no more money, we made no more money. If we had nothing, we'd still be around for years, is what I'll say. So what's great is like gives us time to go out and figure out how to build out the play to earn ecosystem. Now, our goal is to do this in 2025. There's a lot of work to do here, but there's kind of a few different things that we're looking at to solve play to earn. There's the game side, right? So we need to figure out how to build games that, one, grow, monetize, and use tokens inside of the game. There's the data science side. So what you're going to hear me talking about a lot moving forward is proprietary first-party data. As you're building or as you're playing Pixels with us, what you are doing is you're basically helping us train these, I hate saying AI, but they are AI models, basically. It's like more machine learning, segmentation, prediction, but you're building AI models with us. We give you Pixel in return for this. And what these AI models are doing is they're basically helping us figure out how to build the best play to earn ecosystem. They're helping us figure out who are the right people to give tokens to. When you give a token to somebody, what do they do with it? What's that effect back to the game? And every single month we've been getting better and better at this. So there's a big data science focus here at Pixels in order to do that. We're also focused on ecosystem expansion. So we're going to start to bring more games into the ecosystem that help give us even more of that first party data to go out and build this play to earn thesis. And we're also going to start to do things like staking as well. I think next AMA, we're probably going to be able to start to talk about like the further ecosystem plans when it comes to staking, when it comes to like building out this long-term Pixel ecosystem. I don't know how much I can say about this, but I'm really interested in the idea of sharing. Let me think about how to phrase this. Pixels makes a lot of revenue right now, right? It's like, we did 20 million in revenue in 2024. And I think there's an interesting use case to use that to power things like staking. Rather than taking top level emissions like most chains do. What most chains do, or most ecosystems that do staking, is they'll basically just like take tokens from their monthly emissions, and it's actually almost all of their emissions. They might have like, investor emissions, team emissions, and then staking emissions, and there's no like ecosystem play to earn stuff. There's maybe a little bit reserved for grants. What's cool is if we pull off the model that we want to pull off, we don't have to sacrifice game growth, because if we were to basically just like give tokens directly from the ecosystem pool that we have, that would be tokens that we're not giving out and play to earn rewards. But the thing is, when we put tokens into the game right now for play to earn rewards, we do get some tokens back. And there's a very interesting model there, is all I'll say. So that's going to be some of the stuff that we're working on.
Okay. Saw a couple of just like other things we can talk about quickly. So why did you remove the quest for Kebabbage? We didn't even complete the quest. So if you didn't complete the quest in time, then it obviously didn't count, but if you did complete it, the devs will have just auto completed it for you. So that's what you're probably seeing. And then I also just wanted to bring this up to address something. So we have these limited time events, usually holiday themed or whatever theme we come up with. If you've been around a while, you know, we do this all the time, right? Winter Carnival is a big example. Shoreline is a one-day example. Kebabbage and all of these is the most recent example. So there's a lot of things that we add to the game that also just don't have utility after the live ops event has finished. And therefore, we will start removing some of those limited time items that have absolutely no utility after the event is over. So some of them were removed, which you might have noticed. Just wanted to bring that one up. Another good thing is a reputation quest. So I say this, I think almost every AMA at this point, but just interact with the game, play the game. I don't know, grab an integrated avatar, chat with your friends, farm some more, play in the live ops events, do the quests. All of those things contribute to your reputation. So it's not as linear as like the really old system.
Here's a good question. Please elaborate on revenue. Revenue and pixel calculated and what price in that case. So I just went on the podcast Navic, and I kind of went through all of this. It was like an hour-long conversation. You know, it's interesting because we're the most transparent in the metrics that matter. We were really big into daily active addresses at one point, right? In DAU. I actually think that's a very terrible metric to judge games by. And really, revenue is probably the best metric if you want to actually look at real user game activity, because you need some spend there. And I actually think return on reward spend is probably this metric that we've been talking about a lot, and like bringing into the conversation inside of Web3 gaming. Is probably the best metric of like overall game health inside of Web3. Now, you want to shoot to a positive return on reward spend. There is no game in Web3 that's even close to that right now. Pixels is a leader. Pixel Dungeons is actually probably performing the best inside of Web3 gaming right now, which is great. There's some models. I think I'm interested to see the Cambria model. Pixel Dungeons and Cambria probably have a similar model, and they can maybe get there. The issue is growing the ecosystem and like how much DAU can you support. So I talk about all these details in that podcast, in the Navic podcast. Revenue right now is denominated in the Pixel token. So basically, return on reward spend is a measure of how much Pixel we give out divided by how much revenue there is. We're at about like a 0.6 this month across the ecosystem, which is good. It was 0.5 last month. And we're shooting to get to 1. Pixel Dungeons sits at like a 0.9, depending on how much user growth they're doing. If they don't want to really expand the DAU, they can be positive quite easily. But yeah, revenue is denominated in the Pixel token. We convert it into US dollars and we're marketing it basically because what we have noticed is US dollar demand stays constant when we're talking about in-game revenue, right? So basically, when you're making decisions in the game, when it comes to your earnings, when it comes to the spend inside of the game, everybody is still making decisions with US dollars in mind, whether you like to say that or not. Nobody's thinking about the pixel value of an item. So basically, the US dollar revenue is kind of a metric that shows how much like actual real demand there is in the economy. What's cool is the pixel spent every single month has been increasing. And the pixel deficit and return on reward spend has been decreasing every single month. We have these numbers that are kind of posted, but I think it was like the pixel deficit with return on reward spend in August was like, 20 million tokens. It got down to 11 million tokens in December. And since we're crossing 0.6, I think the pixel deficit and return on reward spend is going to be like 10 million this month. It might be a little bit better than that even. But we're making really positive progress in nominal dollar value, basically. Now, what's nice is we don't have to be profitable when it comes to keeping the game alive right now because we've raised enough money where we're comfortable and we don't really need to raise any more. We don't need to like increase revenue going to like support operations, anything like that. So we can basically just sit and start to increase this and only focus on that. But in the long run, when we get to positive return on reward spend, we'll talk about this a lot more in hopefully the next AMA when we go over staking, is we'll start to introduce other revenue streams too. Like my goal basically is to like solve play to earn inside of our ecosystem, open up some of the tech that we have, and then allow other people to use our play to earn tech, and then start taking in other tokens. And then we can start to build revenue streams that are just beyond Pixel, basically. We can take in ETH, we can take in US dollars, we can take in like other play to earn tokens. There's some fun stuff that we can get into there, but that's a whole other conversation. Like that'll probably take like 30 to 45 minutes of explaining in an AMA in the future. And we'll probably save that for when we're like announcing staking.
Okay, and also, by the way, Luke did mention that he was on a interview recently with Navic, and I know they haven't posted about it publicly yet, but it is public on their YouTube channel. So I just pinned it to the YouTube live chat if you guys want a first access peek at the interview. I lost the comment in here, but it doesn't matter. You can't click on it if I bring it up on screen, but it is pinned in the YouTube live chat, so you can find it really easily there. Okay.
I'm at the AMA. Do I get additional reputation? Honestly,
Awesome
that's not a bad idea. What I'll say is I want to rework the reputation system like pretty significantly. There's some good things about it. There's also some bad things about it that I think are harming our growth. So it's really hard. Kagi right now. I'm talking to Kagi. Kagi does not have enough reputation to go and he wants to sell his apiary. He has like 1,700 reputation. He got VIP and he still can't sell his apiary. If you are tracking any on-chain activity, as a friend, I gave him one of my personal lands so we can go sell his apiary. And maybe he'll give it back. I hope he gives it back. But yeah, that's actually a pretty crazy issue, right? Like somebody who's been playing the game or like is at least like very familiar with the game can't go and trade something. We need to fix that. It needs to be way easier to get reputation than it is inside of the game right now, especially in the early stages. Yeah, I know you guys tell us this a lot. That was another wake-up call. But yeah, that's going to get tweaked basically. Like that's pretty high on my priority list because me and Jiho were actually just talking yesterday about magical moments inside of Web3 gaming. And yeah, I think it's actually very insightful. He just tweeted something about that too. There's a very insightful tweet there. Let me see if I can pull it up because I think we're on the same page with like how we view this kind of stuff. Where is that tweet? Oh, here. Okay, I have it. I should go into, how do I go into reader mode again?
Did they remove that or is it still there? I feel like they removed it. Just zoom in.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, basically he was like just talking about what are the aha moments in Web3 gaming. We know it intuitively to be selling your first NFT, earning your first tokens and swapping them into real money, making your first friend in Web3, talking to the founder of your favorite project for the first time, sending money overseas to relatives with Ronin wallet. But I would agree. I love those moments inside of Web3 gaming. And our reputation system and some of the in-game mechanics are kind of gating these features a little bit too late inside of the game right now. I don't think we start growing as much as we want to until we fix that and make that like an immediate experience. So one thing that we can do, for example, is we can take some inspiration from some real money gaming websites. We're different than them. Like this is not the same kind of thing, but I think there's good features that we can take inspiration from. One thing that you would do if you played like a game like DraftKings or FanDuel is they have this concept of like giving you free credit basically. So they'll give you like, you know, money to go spend inside of the game really early on just for like signing up or something like that. But you actually can't withdraw that money until you spend a certain amount of it. And we can start to do stuff like that in the early, user journey earlier on in Pixel. So we can actually start to like give new players Pixel in like their first 30 minutes, make them spend it so they don't actually like go and dump it. But yeah, there's some cool experiences like that we can get earlier on. I can't find a place to use my energy. What do you think about this? Production times are very long, and we have to wait in line. I'm really just curious about this. Yeah, so again, the game meta changed a little bit. One thing I'm thinking we should have done now after this update is maybe we should have like decreased global energy too. That maybe would have been a good idea. Because really, you're not intended to you're not supposed to spend all your energy every single day in the same way as before, right? Like that wasn't the intent behind the update. And most people won't. So I know there's this weird thing in your mind though, where you're like, I have this energy and I need to use it. And maybe that's what's stressing some people out also. If everybody had less energy, then maybe that makes sense. Like what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make the gameplay a little bit more strategic than just mindlessly clicking or running a macro and just doing the same thing every single day. Now you can't run the same macros. So the macro users are maybe a little upset. Please do something about the baking industry. Please unlock cake trading or reduce cake making time or increase cake making machines. Cake making industry is not good. I would agree. I think that industry is a little annoying. That's also one of the only industries that you cannot shortcut right now through the marketplace. So it's feeling especially painful to some users for that reason. We've talked about a few things here. So there is some stuff that we're going to be doing around speed ups. Like we really like the idea of allowing you to speed up the cooldown time on an industry, make it way quicker, and be able to like cut the line or do other things like that. We've talked about like crafting queues at one point also. Like the idea of a queue is maybe interesting, but then yeah, sorry, I'm also reading comments for this. But yeah, the other thing that we're going to start tweaking with is basically like some of these limit things too. So we want to start really aggressively, and now we can start to add game mechanics to make them a bit softer too. So, I mean, also just keep remembering that everybody is doing less tasks now. Not everybody is also having the same problem of like not spending energy, and the taskboard tasks remain constant, right? So if everybody's doing less tasks, you're probably going to see a higher percentage of pixel tasks.
Exactly. Okay. Ronin Chibis integration when? I was just talking to Pixel Cat Guy, and it is coming soon. I'm very excited. And then I'm just going to put this up here. It is coming, you're correct. So, okay. Oh, okay, another good question. What is the use of Kiko's pancake? Okay, I did tweet this and I posted the link at the exact timestamp in our announcements on Discord if you're curious. But basically, Luke and I did like a live AMA, and Kiko in the audience asked for pot ray pancakes, and so 3 months later or 2 months later, we got them into the game. So you can go watch that little clip if you're curious.
Going through some questions now. I mean, look, guys, we see. I've never been afraid of bringing negative comments up, and like honestly, maybe I shouldn't sometimes. If you accuse me of like not, if you accuse me of lying and not bringing up negative comments, I literally do. I brought up like 5 or 6 in this AMA. I dare you to like tell me a more transparent team inside of Web3 gaming, or honestly Web3 in general, or even gaming in general. Like what game developer sits on an AMA with their players every single week? We've missed like 3 in the last 3 years. And like, is in the trenches getting feedback like this. It's just like, I'm sorry. I will be like a little cocky on this one. Like we're the only ones that are doing this. And that's because it's hard. But I wouldn't change what we're doing here at all. And we take the feedback really seriously on from users and like from all this. And like we're in the Discord a lot. We're there with you guys. We're understanding all of this kind of stuff. Player count's actually not dropping. Core metrics are not dropping. And game traffic is not dropping either. Gameplay is still like, it's honestly, player count's grown in the last week. And spend has grown in the last week as well too. So the metrics that we're looking at right now are like positively improving. And what we've also seen too, there's some cool stats, is we're actually seeing a higher number of users earning Pixel than before. So one metric that I've been tracking a lot lately is percent players earning Pixel. It's actually been higher in the last week than before. Um,
I don't know why I find this funny. Hi, blondies. From your photo. Hey, brunette.
yeah. So there's a couple things here with Smart Taskboard. This is kind of borrowed from free-to-play games. So what free-to-play games do, and probably the best company in the world at this, is Scopely. Scopely made the game Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go did $2 billion of revenue in about 10 months. An insane hit game. I don't know if you've ever played it before. It's a funny game. It's like you play and you're like, is this a game? And then you end up playing it every day by accident. Like they're very good at making it very addictive. We don't really like that style of stuff. I think it's like a little exploitative. And then Web 2 games can be like, very, very greedy.
But I think that makes some of them like not as fun. Like as a huge mini game player, I don't play the games that I watch ads. I'll watch an ad, but not that many. And it needs to be my choice, you know? So
yeah.
sorry.
So what Scopely pioneered was just like idea of offers and really smartly giving out offers to people. So they kind of know, like by the way that you play the game, if you might leave the game or if you're like ready to turn it off, they're like, oh, they're like clicking less fast now. They must be getting tired of this game. Then they'll start to like give you like in Monopoly Go more dice. They'll be like, no, wait, if you do this, we're going to give you more dice. It's called an offer. And they also know exactly when to like show you monetization inside of the game. So they can tell like, okay, if you have monetized before and you like did this action in game combined with like these 30 actions before, this is a good chance to like show a person like a chance to spend something in game. Now, I think that there's something that exists in the complete opposite version with earnings, basically. So we know all of this stuff about you. We know that the way that you played the game, we can actually start to use the same concept to give out earnings in a targeted way as well, where it's like, okay, we know that if you play one more day inside of the game, for example, you're much more likely to stay inside of the game for, weeks or months. There's a couple of metrics inside of like Web 2 gaming that you look at, like day 1, day 7, day 28 retention are really good benchmarks. If you can get a user to stay from day 1 to day 7, the chance of them becoming a long-term user is like exponentially higher. So creating certain incentive structures to get people in the game in certain like ways and like get them to stay inside of the game longer, or like, send them like some monetization opportunities. Like that's kind of the idea here, but we can do it from the earn perspective. So like we know this is a user that has been like spending a lot on coins. They're getting tired of spending so much on coins. Maybe we give them a bit more pixel to like stay in the game a bit longer. Or we know, hey, this user hasn't seen a pixel task in like 5 days. That's an issue. We know if people haven't seen a pixel task in 5 days, they tend to leave the game. We can start to smartly give you more pixel tasks, right? So that's going to be kind of the approach that we're moving with, like a lot of data science driven rewards. And it's going to be a little bit of a mix. One of the things that we're going to have to figure out is like how hard we go on purely the data science side versus like gameplay elements like Taskboard. What we'll probably do is like we'll set aside a small amount of earnings towards like the smart Taskboard at the beginning. And like keep normal Taskboard mechanics in play as well too, because there's like other downstream effects as well. And then some other cooler stuff that we can do as well is, what was I going to say? It was around, well, yeah, forgot where I was going to go with that, but it's basically like a second version of the Taskboard that we're going to be working on too, that has other tasks besides just like turning in items. Things like sharing with friends, kind of like a rewards dashboard or play the airdrop dashboard. That's going to be coming back, but a bit smarter as well. Staking is targeted to release in March. Yeah, we have like all the design ready for that now. It's getting built now. Staking will probably be rolled out in phases. So we're gonna have like a simpler version of staking to start. Then we'll like get better and better at it, basically. But the key idea will be there at the beginning.
I find this kind of funny. It's like you guys are too focused on people's criticism. Why not focus on fixing the game's problem? So I don't know if you've been around in the last week, but we just pushed a major update, which is fully focused on rebalancing the game. I would say people are being critical of it, to which I ask, take some time to digest it and get used to it. Obviously, tweaks will be necessary, which we'll do and we'll adapt, but the meta has changed. So yeah, take some time to really like sink your teeth into this new gameplay. And then, yeah, I personally think we're just giving out too much free energy and it makes it feel kind of icky. So that might be pulled back. I'm not sure yet. Don't take my word for it. But we'll chat with the design team about that. I know that's like a nerf, so it's going to feel kind of crappy, but it'll feel good long term is my opinion on that. But let me know your thoughts in the chat also.
This is a good point to bring up. So, hey, Luke and Heidi, you guys are figuring it out as you go along, and you are doing a great job of keeping us informed. Don't let negativity enter your perception of the community. Here's what I'm going to say. I do not take negativity personally. I think it's a part of my job. And I'm happy to do it. I have thick skin and I'm willing to take criticism on the chin. And the thing is, I have so much love for this community. You have no idea, guys.
Yeah.
Especially, I keep bringing up to the team, like our experience in the Philippines, and maybe I don't share this with you guys enough too. But I will say, like going to the Philippines, meeting a lot of you guys in person, like our Filipino players, was one of the coolest things I've ever done. Part of the reason why I'm such a firm believer in play to earn is because like I saw how much good play to earn did in the Philippines when we were there. So many people came up to us and told us stories of what they did with their airdrop earnings. Like they started new businesses, they paid for family surgeries, they were able to like pay some debts. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, and that's partly why I care about this so much. I think play to earn is going to work and be sustainable in the long run. I think it's going to be a really big part of all of gaming in like 5 to 10 years. We're really early to it right now. But yeah, we do all of this stuff with you guys in mind. Like I'm not resentful of the community. I really love and appreciate all of you. Even if I know that you guys are grumpy sometimes. I don't get offended. I think giving criticism sometimes is also a way of showing love back to something. If you were really pissed and you were kind of done with us, you wouldn't be giving us any criticism at all. Now, I will say that some of this criticism is not always nice criticism and maybe not helpful, but generally that's how I feel about that. I don't really believe in FUD in most cases. I think it's people that are like passionate and giving their feedback because they care and they want to see things get better. And yeah, sometimes we need to make decisions that we believe are going to be like a little difficult in the short run, but have all the community's best interest in mind. And this is one of those like basically economic changes where we know there's going to be some short-term pushback and some people might not like it. It's going to upset some routines. But we're doing this with your interest in mind. Like we are trying to build something great that benefits all of you. Play to earn has changed a lot of lives and we want to keep doing that. So that's the point. I'm not upset by any negative feedback. I do want to I feel bad for other founders entering the space though, because maybe sometimes they see like our community and like, looks tough. It's not a very welcoming space for other games to come in, right? Because we have a big head start when it comes to like figuring some of this stuff out. Every game is going to go through similar issues that Pixels has faced, whether they want to admit it or not. No game is going to get their game economy right in the very first iteration. It's just not possible. So yeah, be aware of that when you're going out and like trying some other stuff too. And you're going to make the space better for other founders if you also bring some positivity into the space as well. I'll say we can handle it. I'm not sure if everybody else can.
Yeah. I think Luke said everything perfectly. This is like, we've been doing this for over 3 years. Like this is my home too. I think a lot of our users see Pixels as like their community, their safe space, their friends, they're almost like chosen family. Well, same for us, same for me. We spend so much time with you all. I love you guys. I was actually thinking the other day, like, what if I just like wasn't working at Pixel suddenly? Like, I would still need to be with my friends and my family, which is like the Pixels community. Also, that's not happening. Don't worry. I was just like a random, those thoughts you have at like 2 a.m. Don't worry. But there's and what Luke said about like, we want your feedback, we want your criticism, we want your ideas and all of those sorts of things, just in a nice way. And yeah, Luke and I do have a pretty thick skin, a lot of practice. I would say the only comments that I will just say right now, and I think it's worth saying, that are not okay, are the sexism ones, the racist ones, or the homophobic, anything like that. I mean, obviously not necessarily against us, but those sorts of things do give me the ick, and we don't appreciate those. The death threats, not really fun, but the rest of it, like, it's wonderful. Like, give us your feedback, your thoughts, your criticism. We love it. Anyways, we'll stop rambling about that. We can move on. I know Luke and I can ramble about community stuff forever.
I see you guys more than my family. Honestly,
same. Same.
Is it for crops? Is it possible that it will be automatically available for others once the timer is completed, rather than wait for them to be picked up? Here's one thing I was thinking about. So what I'll say is AI agents are really popular right now, right? I'm skeptical of them when it comes to like actual utility in gaming. I think there's maybe something interesting there. The thing is with like AI agents and bots is like you can get a lot of what maybe an AI agent in the game would do. Like imagine like a farmer, an AI agent farmer farming for you inside of the game. There's maybe something cool there, but also you can get some of that automation feature work done without an AI agent. Like you can literally just have like a sprinkler system in game, or an automatic chopper in game that like cuts crops for you. I think if we're going to go down like some of that route, we're probably transparently we are doing some experiments with AI agents just to see if it is something interesting. We're potentially working with another team. Well, we are working with another team to do that. I wouldn't like it's an interesting, very small side project experiment. But the thing I'm interested in with this kind of stuff is like, oh, maybe it's time to add automation in the game with these new changes. Like an automatic crop crowder might make sense, or like sprinklers in the game finally, so you don't have to water. Like I remember in Stardew Valley, I hated watering my crops in Stardew Valley. I still do. I always try to get the sprinklers as quick as possible. It makes your gameplay way nicer and way more enjoyable. Like I think those are the kinds of features we should maybe be thinking about as soon as we can, and that would maybe solve this problem.
I've seen. I don't know if it's the same person, but has said like this comment a few times, and it's just like, do you guys really think that Luke and I have the time to sit down and be like, hey, we're gonna lie about this on the AMA? I saw someone commenting that too when we were talking about community. Like, what? Why would we lie?
What are you talking about?
Anyway, we don't have time for that. Okay. All right. Okay. This is really interesting. Plans for sculptures, their initial use case has been strongly modified with the new update. So they're better now with the update because they actually, with things taking longer, they impact the amount of time, reducing it a lot more significantly. So I think they're better with the update. Okay. I just saw the comment you started, and I find it legalized botting. Guys, that's the point, right?
It's actually something we've talked about, which I think is interesting, right? So we've actually gotten a lot better on the bot detection side of things. So botting to me, when you're talking about like economic impact, is a much bigger issue when you have multi-accounting. Like the real issue with botting is multi-accounts. When one person can make 1,000 accounts and take out 1,000 times the rewards of somebody else, that's a big thing. We've gotten actually pretty good at that now. We're not perfect, but we're by far the best at this in Web3 gaming right now. Big shout out to the team that's been like building around that. And there's some even cooler stuff that we can start to do too. So now that we have that kind of under control, it might be interesting for us to like basically allow some aspect of that. This is not me legalizing it right now. but it would be interesting if Pixels sold bots to users, right? And we use that as like an in-game source of revenue in the same way that we did like coins. If we made like legal official bots inside of a game, that might be something cool. We've been talking about that. I think it's a good idea. And that's like what some of the AI experimentations that we're going to be doing and agent experimentations that we're going to be doing are related to. Like we can basically experiment with like getting an agent working in the game and then maybe see if that's something we want to monetize and bring into the core pit game. How about new users? Is there any plan to make their gameplay easy for a while, just to introduce them to the game? Yes, this is a really big thing that we're working on. Wait, let me see if I can find this because I think this is hilarious. We started to go through all of our like user flows. I'm gonna pull it up because I think it's worth it, and you'll see like some of the stuff that we're working on there. Yes. Okay. Here's an example of some of the work that we're doing. This right here is our first time user experience flow.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Isn't
It's
this crazy?
crazy.
When the person that put this together presented it on our team call, all of our jaws were on the floor. Like
that's bad. Like really what it should be, we're trying to simplify it down to something like this, like 5 to 6 steps at the very beginning. And there's a lot of work that's getting put into that now. But yeah, if any like Web 2 game veterans saw that this was our user onboarding flow, they might cry. A typical experience in Web 2 is like a 1-minute tutorial experience. Ours is like 10 to 15 and doesn't even really teach you the game that well. Basically, we need to break that down. We need to like kind of teach people how to play the game. We need to make the first like week to a month experience feel a lot better and easier too. We need to ease people into the new game. So this is all stuff that we're working on now, basically. When I think about Pixels 2025, there's like 2 things in the core game that we're working on, like very specifically, besides like all the data science stuff that we're doing. It's making the game have like more game loops and interesting new types of gameplay. It's also monetizing on that a little bit better and having people use the pixel token more often. And then it's redoing this first time user experience so that we can start to push more growth. Once we do that, we can also start to really up the things like social sharing. I've been so anti-paid ads. Pixels has reached 10 million users. We did 44 million web visits in 2024 on $0 of ad spend. But if the economics look good, it actually might make sense for us to do ad spend at 1.2. And we need to do things like this first.
Speaking of, can I answer this question?
No. So 80% of in-game revenue right now goes to a community treasury. And we said 1 year after TGE, roughly, we were going to open up governance of this community treasury. So you can find it on chain. 80% of that revenue is in that treasury untouched. And then 20% just went back into play to earn rewards, basically. So if you also look at like our ecosystem pools on chain, you'll see they've been accruing some Pixel 2, have not been sold or anything like that. And yeah, all on chain. But yeah, there's like, I think 65 to 70 million Pixel in the community treasury right now. And you guys will get to decide what you want to do with it. If you want to burn it, if you want to do other things with it. Yeah, it's not really in our hands, it's in your hands. So yeah, we have a plan for the governance coming soon. It's probably gonna be staking related. So excited to see what you guys do with that.
Okay, we see this comment a lot, so I just wanted to bring it up and address it. Are you guys playing the game yourself? Devs don't even play the game, or comments we get all the time, right? So the answer is yes, of course we play the game. Probably not as much as like Chicken Pet, but we do play. I play. Our community team plays. All of our farmhands play, who we have calls with every 2 weeks. Our internal team, they play. And of course, we're constantly in the community and all of the chats, Discord, we're reading Twitter all the time. So we gather feedback from everywhere, not only from us playing, but from community, as a lot of you guys know. So the answer is yes, of course we play the game. Best letter. Not at all. Chicken Pet's okay. If you've been around a minute, he's like one of my favorite people. Okay, so not at all. Okay, this is also, I just laughed when I read this. Can I date Heidi NPC on Valentine's? Okay, I already leaked kind of low-key that there will be a Valentine's Day event. But why I wanted to bring this up was one of our team members, and I'll let Luke guess which one, was suggesting that what we do is have people have like go on a date with this like robot, and you you have to like give the robot like these things, and like you have like a dinner with them. I was just like,
Yeah, I mean, some of the AI agent stuff that we're doing, I mean, I think the team is interested in AI waifus. I don't know how, if you guys want an AI girlfriend in Pixels, let us know, because that maybe can happen.
Yeah. And then I feel that the AMA is more to answer comments, and the reality of the gameplay is bad. I do not see a sense of doing this weekly. It could be monthly or when you do significant changes. So there's a lot there to address. So AMA is Ask Me Anything. That's what AMA stands for. So the whole point is for Luke and I to hop on. Obviously, we'll like give a game update, but the core point of an AMA is to ask me anything, answer those questions. And it's a really great place for us to connect with you guys and like read your comments live and like have this kind of live conversation as best as we can, right? Luke and I have been doing this every week for 3 years, which is just crazy. And of course, we've talked in the past, like, should we do it less? Should we do it? No, we've never talked about doing it more. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I think we would die. But we've talked about doing it less, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, we've been doing this for so long. Why would we change it now? And once again, this is like our best place to connect with you guys, like outside of Taskboard and
This is
whatnot.
also the most popular podcast in Web3.
Which is crazy.
We don't really talk about that, but
yeah. So, especially during like the build times when there's not as much content being pushed by the team, Luke and I've been like, we have nothing new to talk about. Should we do it? And we do. Something really bad happens in the community. We definitely need to come on here and address it, even if it's hard for us. Obviously, these are really fun when we've got crazy updates. Like, I know you guys, there's some criticism on this update, but I was actually excited for today's AMA because to have the chance to talk about it with you guys, it's really fun. There's a lot of people who are excited about it, and I think the people that are critical of it are passionate about Pixels, and that's why they're telling us these things. So, anyways, TLDR is we'll be doing these for a while, probably until Luke and I are, gray and old, but we'll see.
Awesome. Well, okay, I have a hard stop now. I have to head out.
Overtime. So there's a creator event this weekend, so make sure you go and check out your favorite creator going head to head in Pixel Dungeons. Yes, we've done this a couple times. We are doing it again. So go to the link tree posted in Discord and make sure you support your favorite creators, and we'll see you guys in the AMA next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.